This video is about life lessons, what it teaches us about ourselves, and how it displays our pain, our regrets, our disappointments. When I look back, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 said, "Do not lean on your own understanding, but the understanding in God in all the things that you do." Well, for as long as I can remember, Tom has always did what Tom wanted to do, even if it was detrimental to who I am as a person. I am a man that has been married a total of 3 times. And out of all those 3 times, the marriages probably equate to about 6, maybe 7 years total amongst all 3 women. Now, you probably asking yourself, how does a man get married 3 times? Well, my kid's mother was from Poland. She came here on a tourist visa. And when I had kids by her, she wanted to work. She wanted to have a life. Now, I loved her because she gave me kids. But I wasn't in love with her. I wasn't ready for marriage. But under compulsion and pressure from my mom and for the love of my kids, I married her. And it was a paper marriage, meaning that it was not your regular marriage where you take a wife for better or for worse. It was just to help her get her citizenship, and we never lived under the same roof. I was actually with someone else at the time, and she was okay with it because she said it was for my kids. But according to God, I shouldn't have did it. So fast forward, I'm in a relationship about 10 years, and we finally get married. But we didn't get married for love. We got married because I didn't want to lose. And what I mean by that is we struggled. I struggled with being faithful. So she decided to step out on me. In the midst of stepping out, she got pregnant by a married man. And I didn't want to lose. So I married her and stepped up, acknowledged the child as my own, took care of the kid for 2 years. And then when she got back with the guy, because his wife divorced him, she told me my services was no longer needed. This is where the problem set in at. I truly started hating women because I felt betrayed and used. I used my pain as a weapon, not wanting to get close to anyone. But how long can you operate in a state like that? Who am I? I wasn't God. I'm punishing women that had nothing to do with what I was going through. So I just wanted to casually date. And in the midst of that, people catch feelings. Because when you into somebody, that's to be expected. I came across good women too. I'm talking about women that had careers, women that had grown kids, semi-grown kids, women that was independent, women that wanted to have a partnership. But again, Tom, leaning on his own understanding, chose a woman that didn't believe in partnership, even though she said it. A woman that had a small child, a woman that lived at home, a woman that was seeking an opportunity to advance her life and her child's life, and was really looking for more of a sponsorship. Today, as I closed the chapter on a bad marriage, disappointment, and pain, when I looked into the eyes of somebody that I once loved, I saw hate, resentment, anger. I saw anything except love. And it just brought me back to, Tom, what you saw today didn't just happen today. It happened a long time ago. So we worked together for 20 years. Well, we worked together 20 years ago at HSBC. And like I said, I used to see her on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, and I used to just do little harmful, harmless flirting, and used to like her pictures and stuff like that. And she'd say thank you, but it was nothing more than that. I wasn't pursuing her, and she wasn't pursuing me. So when I wanted to go to God in 2023 to get my life in order, out of nowhere she came in my DM. I'm like, oh wow. And I was excited. I was like, okay. So we exchanged phone numbers. We went out. And she told me she stayed at home and stuff like that. And, she was there helping her father. And I looked past that. I was like, everybody sometimes go through things, and you can't judge them by that. But again, I wasn't ready to be a husband. And I knew that you can't tailor your standards and the guidelines that you have for your partner just because somebody looked good. But I did that. I was doing what Tom wanted to do instead of what God wanted me to do. I took a chance. I thought it was a good chance. And I was wrong. See, the problem that we do in relationships is we ignore red flags thinking we could change things. You knew that man was a cheater when you dated him. You knew that woman didn't want a partnership when you dated her. You knew that man beat on you. You knew that man was an alcoholic. You knew that man was a gambling addict. You knew that man was a guy in the streets. You knew that guy was a womanizer. We all are dealing with things that we turn the other cheek to. We turn a blind eye to. We want so bad to see the good in them that we dismiss all the bad in them. And I'm guilty just like everybody else is guilty. She was guilty. She knew that I had a past. I was a womanizer. She knew that. But she looked past that. I knew that she didn't have the substance that I wanted her to have, so I looked past that. And guess what? Today was a display of why in life you gotta trust in God. You gotta use common sense. You gotta use logic. When the Bible said don't be unequally yoked, that was no lie. If somebody believes in the same thing that you don't believe in, that's a problem. If somebody don't have, or I ain't gonna say have, but if somebody's not able to support themselves, that's a problem. I'm a 48-year-old man. If I lived at home with my mom, when no woman even look at me, if I ain't have a job when no woman even want to talk to me, they'll say I'm a bum and all that stuff. They wouldn't even give me a chance. They wouldn't pour into me. They wouldn't do that. But sometimes we admit, as men, we do that. She can have a house full of kids. She don't have to work. Because men are more physical than emotional. But in life, you don't have a lot of do-overs. You don't have a lot of restarts. I look at today, I'm 48 years old. The year is almost over. I'll be 49 in February. How many marriages do you think I got left in my lifetime? Maybe one. And this podcast, I hope, connects to a lot of people. Man, we wasting time. I I see women all the time talking about, I ain't gonna do shit for a man. That's why you're gonna be by yourself. That's facts. You ain't getting younger, you getting older. And we got more time behind us than in front of us. You better come to the table presenting yourself as a man of God, as a woman of God, wanting a partnership the way the Bible says. We so caught up in societal behaviors and the norms of society that we have neglected the ways and the laws of God. That's why we fall prey to different things in life. It really hurt my heart to see a woman that didn't want to talk to me. You know, I am the same guy that took off the restraining order. I'm the same guy who told the prosecution that I would not testify against her. I am the same guy who was going to consider reconciling my marriage even after she lied about the talks with the pastor of my ex-church. And she said she was willing to forgive me for the infidelity. But at the same time, it couldn't work because there was no change. We still wasn't communicating well. She still didn't exemplify what partnership was. She stayed at home for the last 9 months and didn't even get her own spot. She was, I ain't even say manipulated. She was instructed to change her phone number, which she did. She chose to stay at a church that I told her I needed her to leave and follow me. All these life lessons. Tom, you saw that in the beginning. So, not trying to be funny, right? At 40-something years old, your father should not have that much control over you, right? So, when we was dating, she used to have to lie to her dad about being at work. And I used to get so mad. I'm like, you a grown woman. Why would you have to lie to your dad? She's like, my dad old school. I'm sorry, I don't care how old school you are. You a grown ass woman. You a whole grandma. Your dad should not have that much control over your whereabouts when you go and when you come. So instead of me walking away, I stayed. I don't know why. I let me stop lying. I know why. Because she caught my eye. And because I was so bent on the surface, I ignored every red flag I saw. This woman told me she loved me. But when it came down to showing how, she could never explain or do. On Sunday, my pastor preached, I believe it was 1 John 4, the whole chapter. And God said, you got to love your fellow man. Because if you can't love your fellow man, how can you love a God that you haven't seen? You have to be able to forgive. Love is an action word. We always think that's an emotion. We always think, oh, that's when we get the butterflies and we just so smitten by a person. No, that's not the key. Love is an action. If that person is hurt, you take care of them. If that person is in need, you provide for them. Love is an action. It's just not what you just say, just to say it. So this woman told me she loved me, but when I say explain to me why you love me, she could never say anything. And I tolerated it. I tolerated it. How many times do you tolerate stuff that you know you shouldn't tolerate? How many times do you stay in situations where you know you shouldn't stay in? Years go by. Now you bitter. Now you angry because you didn't just get this person the best years of your life. Time that you can't get back. So I was upset about the money that I spent on a marriage, right? But you know what? Over time, I got that money back. I was mad about giving funds to a church and then the money come up missing or used with no transparency, no no statements or anything like that, or how the money was divided up to pay the tithes. I was angry about that. Yes, I was. And in that first video, I expressed my anger, but that's just money. Hell, shit, I got over $10,000 on my neck. So money means nothing, but life lessons means everything. We don't have the time to give to people. We don't have the love and the resources to give to people that don't really want to reciprocate that. I ain't gonna lie, it broke me down to see that the person I chose, in spite of not being everything I wanted in a wife, sit there in the courtroom, stare at me with blank eyes, with hate, barely wanted to open her mouth. And then I just had to think, that woman never wanted to unclean from her father. That woman chose to have a secret conversation with a pastor. That woman pretty much made the pastor her covering when you was her husband. That woman wouldn't leave the church when you wanted her to. That woman told you she wanted sponsorship and not partnership. So the person I saw in court was the person that I saw in the marriage and the relationship. She never wanted to be wife. I made her wife. You know, the Bible said he who finds a wife finds a good thing. I did not understand what that means. He clarifies wife. He didn't say a woman, he said wife. I found a woman that I made my wife. Two different things. And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. It's a tough pill to swallow. So I thought I could say everything I wanted to say in this video. So instead of making it too long, because it's already at almost 20 minutes, I'm going to do a part 2 at a later date. But before I go, just remember, we have an expiration date, men and women. Stop with that, I need a man to take care of me. Because in reality, if you don't lean on God to take care of you, and you don't do it, you don't put the work in to take care of yourself, ain't nobody else gonna take care of you. That go for men and women. So, on that note, Stay tuned for part 2 of life lessons. And I hope you get some out of this video. Talk to you soon.